All right, this is Mr. McMurray, and we left off on the. All right, this is Mr. McMurray, and just to recap on the drawing here, we are going to just remind you the answers that we gave here, talking about the fingernail. This one would be dermis and then hypodermis, so we're not really going to worry about that one. That one's not going to be something I'll ask you. Then we said here's the free edge of the nail, the part you clip off. This part is over the nail bed. So it's the nail body, but the bed is underneath it there. This is a lateral nail fold, which makes sense because it's on the sides. This over here would also be a lateral nail side. Now, a nail fold, excuse me. All right. Then down here we have the proximal nail fold, which is the stuff coming down here underneath it here. Proximal because it's nearer where it's attached. Okay. Distal would be out here. The free edge of the nail would be the most distal part of the fingernail. All right, but the proximal nail fold would go around here. And then the lunule would be the little half moon shape, lunar. That has to do with the moon, so it looks like a little moon here because it's thicker here, so you can't see the red blood that's going through the nail bed here, so it's a little more white. And then finally, the cuticle back here, which is in front of the proximal nail bed, which would be right here. And then where it gets thin right there is the cuticle. All right, that kind of leads off with the finger. Now, a couple things. One, number 27, this layer of epidermis that forms the nail bed is the stratum basale. So this down here, the nail bed is all straight stratum basale. That's why if you rip this off, it will hurt. And then right below it is the dermis, which would have also nerve endings and blood and stuff like that too. So very tender and very difficult there. Very painful if you rip off the fingernail. All right, number 29, the lunula we talked about over here is thicker because that's where the nail matrix is, where it builds this together. And because it's dark, thicker right here, it looks more like the lunula. Lunula looks more whitish there. Okay, because the fingernail is thicker there, and that's why it looks white, not as red as the rest. All right. Just for the record, sometimes if people have skin, we talk about blue cyanosis, tell you have bad circulation, so a lot of times your fingertips will get blue. But if someone has brown or black skin, very darker skin, it's hard to tell that sometimes. And so if you look under the nails are kind of like a clear window, if you will, to the stratum basale underneath it, which is near the dermis, which has all the blood vessels in it. And so it is a good indicator. If you see blue and not the red color here, then that's a sign that those people may be having bad circulatory problems. Okay, whereas normally if you had lighter colored skin, it'd be easier to tell that just from the general skin color of the fingers and so forth and stuff like that. All right, but the fingernail is a good place to check that. People have darker skin. All right, number 29. Causes and symptoms of athlete's foot. Athlete's foot is just a fungus infection. It likes your skin on your feet because we wear socks. Socks keep it hot and sweaty in there because it stays moist, and it's a good place for fungus to grow. It causes itching or peeling in the skin of your feet, and usually you have to treat it with some kind of a fungicide or some kind of chemical that will kill fungus in order to treat that. Okay? Jock itch is kind of the same thing, a fungus but up in the groin area. Yeah, same reasons, moist area, stays moist and wet, so it's a good place for funguses to grow. Boils and carbuncles. Boils are inflamed hair follicles. So if you have a hair follicle and it gets inflamed or infected, or not infected, sorry, but if it just gets inflamed, something's irritating it, sometimes the hair will not grow out properly or something. It could also be at the oil gland, and very often they form big lumps on the back of your neck. That's very often a common place that people have boils. Carbuncles, on the other hand, are actually caused by a bacterial or staph infection. Okay, boils are just inflamed or irritated and swell up, but the carbuncles are actually infected by the staph bacteria, staph infection. Cold sores, you may also get these called fever blisters and so forth. These are called by dormant viruses. Okay, usually some type of herpes viruses. There's a bunch of different kind of herpes viruses, but these are ones that just get in the mouth, and they get in the skin, and basically they can go dormant. Viruses can do this sometimes. They kind of go dormant. They don't bother you for a while, but then if you get stressed out, you don't get enough sleep, maybe fever, sickness, too much sunlight in some people sets them off, and then they'll start making the blisters and stuff around your mouth, especially, and in the mouth, and on your mouth. And then if the stress goes away, you get caught up on your sleep, you stay out of the sun, you get rid of the fever, and it goes back away. So viruses can do that. They can kind of go dormant and flare up and go back and forth, back and forth. All right. Contact dermatitis. Contact means you have to touch it. All right. So let me get through this here real quick. Dermatitis obviously has to do with your derm or skin. Something has to touch something. All right. So so basically, contact dermatitis is when you're exposed to some kind of chemicals that provokes an allergic response. It causes you to get itchy, red, swelling, maybe even blistering. Another good example would be poison ivy. Poison ivy will very often cause that. Some people have a more serious reaction than others. They get the blistering and really bad stuff. Other people not quite as bad. Okay, but it's something you come in contact with that you're allergic to and touches your skin. Impetigo looks like impetigo, but it's impetigo. This is one of those things I always heard people talk about impetigo when they have daughters and everything, or babies and having stuff. But when I saw it written down, it's like, oh, that's what that is. It took me a while to realize that. But it's a highly contagious staph infection. It generally makes little pus, little bumps around the nose and mouth, and they make like a yellow crust, and they kind of rupture. But the good news is, although they're very contagious, they're not real bad. And once you treat them with some antibiotic or something, it will go away, or ointment or something on it, and it will go away. But they're very common in younger kids. Psoriasis, we don't really know what causes psoriasis. You'll see lots of medications being advertised now on TV, talking about clear skin and stuff, and usually they're talking about psoriasis. We don't really know what it's caused by. I think it's triggered by trauma of different kinds, maybe infections, hormone changes, stress. That triggers it and makes it flare up, but we don't know really what causes it. They haven't found a virus or bacteria or infection or anything that causes it. And generally it gets chronically red skin, can get dry and silvery looking, stuff like that, and so that can be a problem. It's more of an appearance thing than actually, let's say, pain or anything, but it can be very unsightly, and so some people apparently, if you look at the commercials, just want to hide inside all the time. I don't know if that's widespread or not, but it does allow people to, if they have more medicines that can treat it, or at least make it alleviate the issues a little bit better. All right. If you get burned, we'll talk about burns. Burns, the two main problems are, one, if you burn your skin, we said your skin is what keeps your body from dehydrating, okay, all this stuff from coming out. And so dehydrating, if you burn the skin, then dehydration is a major problem. The skin's damaged, it can't keep moisture in, it will dry out, and your body dehydrates. And so along with that, they have to put a lot of electrolytes, salts, and waters back into your body to replace what's evaporating out. The other thing is infections. Once again, the skin, we said, is a big barrier to bacteria and stuff like that. Once it's damaged to this point, it's no longer a good barrier, and bacteria and other things can come in and start infecting it. Okay, and so a lot of times they will wrap. They have kind of like plastic wrap type stuff they'll put around it to help, one, keep the moisture in, and to keep the bacteria out. So they can either graft or try to do something to fix the burn or give it time to grow back or whatever. Okay. Now, there are three types of burns: first degree, second degree, and third degree. No, that doesn't mean it's 1 degree Celsius, 2 degrees Celsius, 3 degrees Celsius. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with how severe it is. Okay, first degree, generally speaking, is like sunburn. It's going to be painful. It's just mostly on the surface levels, not real deep. If it actually blisters, once it begins to blister, then it can be considered a second degree burn. And then finally, if it completely destroys the skin layers, then you have a third degree, which is the most serious type of burn. And at this point, it will not regenerate itself, and you'll have to graft stuff back in. So let's look at number 31. Full thickness burn. It goes through the epidermis and the dermal layers are destroyed. The skin may be blanched or pale colored. That would be a third degree burn here, or C. Blisters form would be B. Epidermal damage, redness and some pain, usually grief. That's kind of like a sunburn, so that would be A, or first degree burn. Epidermal and some dermal damage, pain, but it will regenerate or grow back. It will still be considered a second degree burn. Probably a little more severe than the second degree burn here, but it could be more severe than that. But if there's pain, It does some deeper damage into the dermis, but it can regenerate and grow itself back. That's a key thing for a second-degree burn. Whereas number 5 would be a third-degree burn. Regeneration is impossible. You would have to graft skin. Sometimes, if it's a small area, they can graft skin from maybe like the small of your back or some part of your body back on here. The good part about that is you don't have to worry about it being rejected or anything like that. They can also get skin cells that have been grown from someone else and try to grow a patch to fill up a bigger area. But the bigger the area, the more difficult it is to graft it and allow it. It takes longer for it to grow back. But the actual tissues that are here, once they've received a third-degree burn, they will not grow themselves back. They will have to do some kind of grafting. And C, pain is absent. And what this means is it burns so deeply, it's destroyed the nerve endings down here in the dermis. And so they've been so destroyed they don't even feel pain. Now that's saying those nerve endings in the dermis don't feel pain. You will still probably feel pain from different parts of your body on the edges and stuff like this, but the actual skin tissue there is no longer sending pain signals because it's been so destroyed that even the nerves cannot do anything. All right. Now, and last thing we're going to talk about in this video is number 32, the importance of the rules of 9. As a help to EMTs and things like that to help them figure out what percentage burned. Because if they know the percent of body surface burned, they know how much fluids they need to try to give the person. And it helps them estimate how much damage has been done. And so basically they divide the body into 11 areas. You have the front of the head, the back of the head. Those are both 4.5%, or together they make 9. The front of the arm, the front of the body is 18%, or 2 9s, if you will. All right, 4.5 and 4.5 for each arm. The peritoneum area is just 1%. Legs are 9%. And so if you add all that up, and this is front, then the back, front, and back, front, and back. Oops, didn't go there just yet. Okay, let's go previous. Okay, same thing here, 4.5 on the front, 4.5 on the back, 4.5 on the front. So it'd also be the same amount on the back for each of these, and that adds up to a total of 100%. But if we say one arm is completely burned, well, that's about a 9% loss. They can estimate about how much fluid you're losing per hour, and that would allow them to calculate how much they need to give you to keep you from getting dehydrated. The front of the body would be 18%. Okay, front and back that would be 36%. So it would be a lot more fluids would be necessary. All right, that's basically the rule of 9. Now this part over here, we have seen some of this, the cold sores we talked about. These are the virus ones caused, and they kind of flare up. Now I have some things that I don't know if they're actually cold sores because they're not outside on my lips, but inside my mouth that do the same thing when they get sores on them. When I get stressed out, I don't get enough sleep, I'll have these little sores, very painful little pits, kind of like that ulcery thing. But I'm not sure if they're exactly the same thing as cold sores, but they're probably also caused by a virus because they go dormant and they come back and that kind of thing. So that's cold sores. Impetigo, so especially in younger kids, it's contagious, usually around the face and mouth, but fortunately it's usually pretty treatable and goes away quick. Psoriasis, here we're talking about, sometimes it's just kind of reddened, but you can see how this is kind of gray and scaly, or sometimes you can kind of silvery look to it, and so you can see that a lot of people will be sensitive about that and might not want start wearing long sleeves or gloves or whatever to cover that up. And that's why you see a lot of the commercials are talking about how now you can, it's a more skin day or something like that, where you can show your skin. It doesn't cure it, but it can cause the flare-up to go away, so it's not as bad. And the same thing, sometimes they kind of go away and they get triggered by different things. All right, that's cancer. That'll be the next time, so we won't worry about that right now, but that's it. So hopefully you have corrected your study guide as we went along if it needed it, and we will see you again next time.